Welcome to Financial Focus, brought to you by Gulf Coast Financial Services founder and CEO, John Kuykendall. John and his team of financial, legal, and tax professionals have provided North Florida savers and investors sound, comprehensive financial guidance for over 25 years, helping you to achieve important life and planning goals. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting gulfcoastfinancial.net.
And welcome into the program. This is Financial Focus, your common sense approach to planning for your financial, investment, retirement future, brought to you by the best of the best in financial services, 7 years and running, as named by the readers of the Lake City Reporter, the team from Gulf Coast Financial Services, and our guide here on the program, as always, founder CEO John Kuykendall. John, welcome back in.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's great to be here. I mean, it's really good to be having a program on this eve of this special day.
Absolutely, yeah. And John, actually, over the course of doing this program with you throughout the years, there have been several holidays that I thought were pretty good reflections of people's financial status. I think Thanksgiving is one of them. A lot of people are out there just very thankful for what they have. Yeah. St. Patrick's Day was another one, because a lot of people are sort of planning on that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow to help them in their financial planning for retirement. But Halloween, to me, may be the best representation of retirement that we can come up with for an analogy, because we've got a finite amount of candy and an unknown amount of trick-or-treaters that are going to come to our door. We've got to make it last, just like we've got a finite amount of money on the day we retire and an unknown amount of years, and we've got to make it last.
Well, that's right, Peter. We've talked about this before on the show about, how much money is enough and how do I handle my money? And that's why we always stress that financial focus income plan, because, how many times have you got all the candy you thought you were going to have, and then but at the same time, you were worried about the number of people that were going to come to the door and trick or treat you. And so stingily, you gave out one little piece of bubble gum in the beginning. And then at the end of the day, after everybody was gone and nobody was coming, and you looked and your basket was still full. And I think, in retirement, Peter, that's the worst thing that can happen to us, is to forego the pleasures of retirement and to do the things that we want to do in a very active society because we're afraid to spend money.
Yep.
But how am I going to know how much is enough?
Yep. And so we don't do all of the things that we could have done. We could have made all of those trick-or-treaters knights by giving them a handful of candy, but we wanted to be conservative just in case more came, and then we end up with this big pot of candy. In my household, I know what happens to it, John. My son gets it, and he eats twice the amount of candy, and it's gone after 3 or 4 weeks anyway. I might steal a few of the Reese's peanut butter cups, but it goes to my son because I didn't do with it what I should have done with it, and then essentially he blows it within a 2 or 3 week period.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's not the case when you get your inheritance, Peter. But how many times does that happen? I mean, the thing about retirement is it's supposed to be a time when we can enjoy ourselves. We take time off from work and we do the things that we have to do to make our lives more enjoyable. But the thing is that we're paying ourselves. So naturally, we tend to skimp on how much we can spend. And so a lot of people, because they don't have that financial focus income plan, they don't budget out their expenses and really know how much they can spend. And then when we have a great market and we make 20% or more, then they can spend a little bit more, but they don't know it, so they hoard it. A very good example is I have a friend who loved it when he got $1 million. He just absolutely loved it. It was the best thing that could ever happen to him. And so, he after he got it, he didn't want to spend it. So he just scrimped and barely got by, drove a 10-year-old car, lived in the same house he lived in forever, never went anywhere. And then he passed away. And so it went to the next generation. Well, they got to enjoy it, but how much better could he have done? How much more pleasure could he have had if he had spent a little bit of it during his lifetime.
And he probably would have felt more freedom and confidence in doing that spending had he had that financially focused written retirement income plan. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are already a client of Gulf Coast Financial Services, you've probably gone through the process of designing that, but you also want to check up on it, review it, update it, and monitor it along the way. So as always, especially with all of the changes that are out there on the horizon and being proposed, you do want to update that plan. So give a call and come back in and review and update that plan. And if you're not yet a client, you need to understand the benefits of having that written retirement income plan. And you certainly need to call so you can have that confidence and not be left with that pile of candy at the end of the night, knowing what's going to happen to it. Give a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. On the other side of that possibility, though, John, I've had times where I've been a little too liberal with the candy at the beginning of the night, and then I had to shut the lights off early. There's no shutting the lights off on retirement if we spend too much too early.
No, Peter, and this is the worst thing that could happen to us during retirement, is we have to remember we are paying ourselves. It's what we've saved, what Social Security and other things we have coming in that's going to determine how our lifestyle is going to be. And the worst thing that can happen, and I've actually had this, I've seen this, and it's not a great thing, but I've seen it happen over and over again, where people spend too much in the beginning. You know, it's like when you win the lottery, all of a sudden you end up with a lot of friends. And so in retirement, if you're not careful, you'll end up with too many friends and you'll spend all your money in the beginning. And then the last thing that any retiree wants to do is to run out of money and have to call the kids and say, hey, I'm coming to live with you. What do you think?
Yeah, that's not a pleasant trick-or-treat knock on the door there.
No.
So again, not having that financially focused written retirement income plan, and the focus is on the primary needs in retirement. How are we going to generate a sustainable income, a livable income to maintain quality of life? You've got to do that through specific planning so that you're not left with too much of your nest egg and too much assets with an unfulfilling retirement at the end of it, or you don't do too much too soon and then run out into the later years. The balance is what's appropriate, and it is what can be found with that specific financially focused written retirement income plan. And again, to get that put together or to review and update yours for all of the changes that we are seeing going on in proposed legislation and in the economic world around us, pick up the phone, give a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. One other candy analogy here, John, that has happened in my house is I have simply kept my stash in the wrong place, left it out a little early. I thought I had a big bowl, thought I had enough, and then it's all of a sudden it's Halloween and probably no innocence. No innocent members of the household in this story. We all sort of picked at it along the way, but all of a sudden it was Halloween and the candy was next to gone. And so if we leave our money in the wrong place, to come full circle and complete the analogy here, and it can disappear without us really realizing it or having anything to show for it, that can be devastating for a confident retirement.
Oh, yeah, Peter. You know, the thing is that we have to make good decisions in retirement on how our money's placed, where it is. And we have to, we can't be so conservative that we don't make anything on it. We have to keep up with inflation and make more than inflation. And inflation historically is about 3.86%. Historically, I mean, some people budget less, some people budget more, but that's about where it is. We have to keep up with inflation in order to keep our money. And the thing is that we don't want to have it in so many different pots and piles that we forget where it is and we're not monitoring it, not watching it. And, in retirement, we can't sustain a large financial loss in the market. We have to be diversified and make sure that we have the right allocation so that we can make as much as we can. But as I'd like to say, so that we can still sleep at night, our risk number is good with us. And so it's the worst thing we can do. And so many people do that. They get so conservative that they forget or they get worried about the market and one time pull all their money out and never put it back in. We can't do that in retirement. We've got to keep stay invested. And that's what the financial focus plan will help you do.
Well,
it's one of the scariest things there is to run out of money.
You mentioned being too spread out, and I remember in a show a couple weeks ago, we reviewed the 10 steps to prepare for retirement, and number 9 was consolidate like qualified accounts, and that was just kind of a matter of housekeeping and cleaning things up and making sure that everything was that much easier to track. You mentioned that this does not in any way work against your diversification, and in fact, in many instances, it actually helps and improves proper diversification to consolidate like qualified accounts. So these are just some of the things, and that list is always available. You have that available for listeners to the program. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to get that financially focused retirement income plan, if you'd like to review your current plan, if you'd like the list of the 10 steps to prepare for retirement, give Gulf Coast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. You mentioned inflation as well, John. I think that's probably one of the top scares or spooks or plagues for retirement that people are worried about right now, but I know there are a few others as well.
Well, that's right, Peter. Of course, we have to worry about taxes, and that's one of the things that we really try to be proactive here through our Gulf Coast Tax Advantage. We try to make sure that all of our clients understand what tax bracket they're in and understand the ramifications of doing certain things, certain investments. Healthcare expense is going to be one of the major components of retirement that we have to worry about. Long-term care, how are we going to handle that? And market losses. I talked about this just briefly earlier, but in retirement, we can't afford to follow the market down. We don't have that time to come back. And so what we have to do is make sure that we're allocated properly, that we have a conservative mix, and that we understand where our money is located, and we stay on top of it as much as we can. But, those are the plagues of retirement: taxes, inflation, healthcare, and market losses.
And we've got to have a plan that helps us to address and be prepared for each and every one of those, because we're going to see them. And that's the bottom line. So ladies and gentlemen, have a plan in place to help you address them, be prepared, and be more confident. Pick up the phone, give Gulf Coast Financial Services, John Kuykendall, a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. And John, when you speak of that long-term care, that's that 800-pound gorilla, the elephant in the room that we are so worried about, and yet nobody chooses to address, it seems like, when there are some good solutions here. Now, they're not the same solutions of the past. The way to address long-term care planning has sort of been reincarnated, if you will.
Well, it has, Peter. I think that long-term care, when we first got started on it, actuarially, we forgot to look at the longevity, how long people were living. And so we were thinking, the insurance companies were thinking that they wouldn't have to pay that much out. As it turns out, we're living longer, we're requiring care. And so there's the payouts were much bigger than they thought. And so in the state of Florida, there's very few companies, if any, that offered a traditional long-term care insurance policy. But, there are several ways to do that through annuities and through life insurance, that we can take care of long-term care and plan that out ahead of time. And, the thing is, Peter, I think it's kind of like asking somebody if they have a will. They always say, well, I'll get around to that. I got plenty of time. But long-term care just isn't for old people. I mean, you don't have to be 80 to need long-term care. We met with a client the other day who was 62 years old, and they had already started suffering the signs of dementia. So his short-term memory loss was almost gone, and it was only going to progress from there. So long-term care can be anytime we need it, a stroke. You never know when, a heart attack, anything like that. We need to be prepared. And life insurance is one of the ways that we can do that through these new policies, which are fantastic because they took into place the longevity tables. And so life insurance today is cheaper than it's ever been in history.
Well, you want to scare somebody, you're thinking of Halloween, you're thinking about ghosts and goblins. But if you truly want to have a frightening conversation, bring up life insurance and long-term care and what happens if the market falls off of a cliff and what happens if taxes go up or inflation is a continuing factor like what we have been seeing recently. And that'll really scare the pants off of people. So Halloween, again, especially the supply of Halloween candy, kind of the perfect analogy for retirement planning and making sure that you've got that financially focused written retirement income plan. We want you to have a fun Halloween, but we don't want retirement to be scary. And that's why you need to have that plan in place. Well, John.
But we want everybody to be safe out there, Peter. You know, this is a time when nowadays we need to be safe and make sure that we watch out after the children and make sure everybody has a good time. And you can make sure that you have a good time in retirement by getting that financial focused income plan.
I remember as a kid in my neighborhood, it was free reign. Just go out and be home by about 9:30 or when the lights started going out. Today, there are parents driving alongside of their children house to house just to make sure they're okay in my neighborhood. So, you know, it's a different time and place. But again, we want people to be prepared to do everything that they can to be safe. And that includes taking a look proactively at your financial, your investment, and your retirement plans. Get that financially focused written retirement income plan so that you can have a fun and safe Halloween and a fun and safe retirement. John, we always appreciate your insight and reminding folks what they need to do in order to achieve that.
Thank you, Peter. It was great to be here. I hope everybody has a great holiday.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities, Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through Gulf Coast Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. Gulf Coast Financial Services, Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities, Inc. or Kovac Advisors, Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.